Hello, my friend, and welcome to Beyond, the personal growth podcast for the people who are healing beyond their conditioning and beyond the cycles that played out before them. My name is Katie Lynn, and with 20 years of experience in the field of psychology and human behavior, I am bringing my natural curiosity, expertise, and personal life experiences here for discussions that are guaranteed to be informative, inspiring, and entertaining. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. Okay, today on the podcast, we have Mimi. Mimi, thank you so much for being here. Where would you like to begin?
Okay, so I'm going to say money.
Mm-hmm.
That's the core of the topic that I'd really like to dive into with you today.
Mm-hmm. Money in which way?
So I would say my relationship to money and to my financial life.
Yeah. What's that relationship like as you know it to be up until now?
Tumultuous, difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Just really difficult.
Mm-hmm. Difficult in what way? Like in that it comes and it goes really fast, or it doesn't show up at all, or you have a lot of it and then it's like feast and famine, where it's like I get a lot of it, these windfalls, and then it leaves. Can you describe
Like
it
a
for me?
little bit of everything that you just said. It's like a
Okay.
toxic relationship. Like
Mm.
that's what I've been relating it to most recently is it's like an unhealthy relationship. It's like sometimes it's really good and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's like rock bottom, like
Mm-hmm.
messy. And I can see myself going through these cycles and like creating these just cycles where I keep ending up in
Mm-hmm.
the same place. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing some really deep work recently. And so I'm starting to be able to see more and more of these patterns. But
Mm-hmm.
I heard you say something on one of your other podcasts. It's like there's these knots there
Yes.
still. There's blind spots, and
Mm-hmm.
I can't see it all the way to untangle it.
Yeah. Is there a relationship in your history that resembles your current relationship with money?
Yeah. Yeah.
What relationship is that?
Like a romantic relationship or
It could
any
be either. It could be
relationship.
romantic. It could be it could be relationship with mom. It could be a relationship with dad. Relationship with friends. Relationship with caregivers. If mom and dad weren't there.
Hmm. There's a romantic relationship that I could probably relate it
Mm-hmm.
to that it's been very similar to.
Yeah. And is that is that relationship complete now?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
And what made that relationship not work?
Um, so many things.
Mm-hmm.
So many things. He was a liar, a cheater. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and who I was in that relationship, like now who I am, like
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't even think twice about being in that relationship. Even as I'm kind of thinking about this and we're looking at it, like when I first got into that relationship, it was like this powerful, like, oh, I'm in love with you, like the first day that I met you, and it was fun and it was new. And I was like, I don't even care. Like, people warned me about this person, and I was like, I don't even care. I was pretty newly out of my divorce, and I was like, I'm just going to have fun and I'm just going to go along for the ride no matter what, no matter where it takes me. I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to be here for the lessons. And I learned a lot from that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what works for me, what doesn't work for me, like what I'm willing to tolerate and not tolerate. But it was very, like, very up and then very down. And I found out, the lying and the cheating and all that stuff. And so it was like a crazy roller coaster in 2 years. And that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
what money is like for me. Like, when I have it, it's really good and it's fun and it kind of slips through my fingers kind of easily. And,
Yep.
because I come from a background of scarcity. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
what I know my foundation is like kind of rooted in is that scarcity. That's what I'm used to and comfortable with. And that's what I keep like creating these situations that bring myself back to that.
Mm-hmm.
So like when it's there, it's good and it's fun. And then when it's gone, it's like, have it.
Yeah. I'm curious, when it's gone, what does your internal dialogue sound like when money is gone?
So this is where it's at. Because it's like
Mm,
the worth that I have that tied to within myself is like when it's
mhm,
gone, I like it's gonna make me cry because I like suddenly am not worth anything anymore. My
mhm.
value as a woman goes way down. Um, and I feel like when I lose the money, I'm gonna lose everything. There's like this fear about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I heard you say something so powerful. When the money is gone, the worth goes way down. And the worth goes way down according to who?
To me.
Yeah. Hmm.
And
Yeah. So,
in my perspective, it's like also to other people, like I create this world where my value to other people also goes down.
hmm And do
And
you
that
have
may not
evidence for
be
that?
true for them. No, like that's probably not true for
Okay.
them. But to me, it's like, yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I get it. I get it. Thank you for bringing this forward. This is such a great, great topic, Mimi. Like, this is the stuff that many, many people hide behind, self included. I hid behind it for so long. Oh my gosh. So much of it has to do with the environment that we were brought up in. And, whether our parents knew or not is rather irrelevant now because we're here now working through it. It's that idea that like maybe the trauma wasn't your fault and yet and still you're alive and it's our responsibility to navigate it and to either choose to work through it or not. And so I'm grateful that you're here to work through it. And what comes through is that the worth got tied to what you can create and do for others. Does that feel accurate to you?
yeah, yes,
Yeah. So it's like the standards that are running in your mind for yourself. It's almost like I am only worthy of being here and I'm only worthy of being loved if I can make sure that I'm able to give people what they want.
yeah, um, yeah, definitely. This definitely touches on something because so this financial journey of mine has really taken its own flight for over the last 10 years, which
Hmm.
10 years ago, I went through a divorce. And prior
Hmm.
to that, I was a stay at home mom for 20 years. I had
Hmm.
little jobs here and there, but mostly my role was to my 5 kids. I never thought about like who was I without my kids and
Yeah.
without being mom and wife. I never had to think about
Hmm.
that. My entire identity and worth was wrapped in that. And so
Hmm.
since then, my kids have grown up. My youngest is now 19, and it's been this journey of figuring out who I am in the world and what I want to do with my life, which is
Hmm.
ever changing. And so, like, so much was wrapped up in our financial life and our marriage. And then as
Hmm.
that fell apart, it was like all of a sudden, now you have to provide for yourself. And there was a lot of things that kind of unraveled during that time, just things that made me feel less than because I didn't have a financial foundation. Yeah, it's just been a really messy journey for myself. And I'm also a woman in recovery. So I over the last several years, I have been unraveling that. And as I've unraveled the alcohol piece of my recovery, it's like, oh, we have this other thing, which was relationships. And I've resolved a lot of that. And now it's like, it's the money. And that's the thing that just
Yeah.
keeps presenting itself. It's the
Yeah.
financial stuff.
Yeah.
I went on a little tangent there with your question, but
I love this. No, I love this. And congratulations on your recovery.
thank you.
That's huge. I have such a special place in my heart for us. And when I say us, I mean like addicts, those of us that were wired in this way of like, whether it be alcohol, whether it be food, whether it be drug, whatever it is, like I am in such honor for every person who is in recovery, myself included, you included. It's the most incredible journey of self-development. And you touch on something that's really important. And what's really important is the theme of the quote unquote addict is that we had no self. And so when we bump up against these things, right? Like whether it be alcohol, whether it be relationships, whether it be food, whether it be money, whatever it is, this is how I frame it. These things are working to help us build a self that we didn't get to build when we were little because we were surviving. And a lot of times we were raised by people who didn't get to have a self either. So there's no way they could have taught us how to have a self, what that looks like. And if everything in our world is only showing us what we believe to be true about ourselves, if the circumstances in our lives are only ever reflecting back to us our beliefs, what do you think money's showing you?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, I love it. Here we are. Their brain is like, I'm not letting her go there. Your brain is so good. If the world and the circumstances are only ever showing us and reflecting back to us what we believe to be true about ourselves, what do you think money is showing you?
Yeah, it's funny. My brain really doesn't want to get this. The first thing that's coming to mind is my relationship. Because I'm in a relationship that I only dreamed about for a long time. Like I didn't think it was possible. Where we don't fight, we communicate when we need to communicate, we work through things, we have difficult moments. And he has stood by my side through the last year of me leaving my corporate job and starting my own business and going through bankruptcy. And just like the last year has been wild. And he has stood by my side solid. And he has shown up for me and helped to fill in the gaps and support me in ways that have made me feel worthy. And I still have these moments where I swear to God he's going to leave. And like, my brain will create these realities where like, I know he's breaking up with me,
And why would he leave according to your thoughts?
It goes back to like, she's too messy and she's got too much baggage and she's got too much going on that I don't want to carry. And
So are you able to phrase it like he would leave because I am?
He would leave
what was the word you used?
because I am not worthy.
Yeah.
He would
not
leave
worthy of what?
Of a relationship this beautiful.
Yeah. And what would, if we flip the coin, what's missing that would make you worthy of this love lasting?
Literally just money.
So your brain is amazing. The healthier the brain, the harder it is to access the like lock and key, as I like to call it. For you and for everybody listening, here's the thing about money. Money is an inanimate object. So one of the things that my husband says that I absolutely love is he says, money never stood up and punched you in the face. meaning that money never really hurt or harmed or endangered you. However, the way people used money and what you heard about money and what you were taught or not taught about money may have hurt, harmed, or endangered you. And so, what I'm hearing in your story, Mimi, is I'm hearing I'm a capable woman. I mean, the most talented, gifted, amazing women are the women who have raised multiple children because you know firsthand how dynamic you have to be as a human being to navigate raising small humans and growing them into full grown humans, you know? And we're not talking just one, or we're talking about a handful of humans, literally. So what I hear is like, wow, she's qualified and very probably overqualified, and she's capable because at the root of it, when we get really, really honest, money is addition, subtraction, and multiplication. From where I sit, one of the ways that I worked through this money stuff for me is I got to create a bit of a distinction. And what I mean by that is I, like you, used to tie my worthiness to how much money I was generating. And I would tell myself these really fantastical stories about like, you're not generating enough, even at six and multiple six figures, you're not generating enough. You're irresponsible, you're impulsive. But what I was really telling myself and what money was really showing me was that there was a belief that was running so quietly of, I'm not capable. I can't. And the mastery of money is so basic in that you learn it. So I'm wondering if, as growing up through these experiences, these life experiences, if your brain decided that you can't, when really the truth is nobody ever taught you. Maybe
Absolutely.
nobody ever. Yeah. Like this is, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here. As women, we've never had more access to money than we do now. We've never had more access to power. We've never had more access to our ability to generate and create wealth for ourselves and our families and our children and our children's children. And most of us were never, ever, ever taught this. We just learned from what we saw and felt from our caregivers. And I heard you say earlier, you know, I grew up in scarcity. So part of what happens in these environments with scarcity is that it's like, gosh, mom is the queen of the universe or dad is the king of the universe. Like when we're little, our caregivers are like the best people on the planet. And if they can't figure it out, how am I going to figure it out? Does that resonate for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting because my environment was scarcity, but my mom, I think this is where I got like my very driven kind of entrepreneurial.
Mm-hmm.
My mom has a very powerful spirit, but she's a drug addict. And
Mm-hmm.
so as
Mm-hmm.
during while I was growing up, she was a drug dealer.
Mm-hmm.
And but she was quite successful in it for a short period of time.
Yeah.
And on welfare at the same time. So it was like this really distorted,
Mm-hmm.
view of, and then before that, like my grandma was a stay-at-home mom her entire life. She
Mm-hmm.
just, that was her role in the family, was to care for the family, to care for the children, and to keep
Mm.
the family together.
Yeah.
So, just a lot of mixed messages.
Yes. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. What are your thoughts about the way your mom made money?
That it was wrong.
Yes.
It was dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it wasn't sustainable. It was rooted in her addiction.
Yeah.
It was very toxic.
There it
Interesting.
is. Yeah. There it is.
Hmm.
It's possible that there could be some, well, now it's conscious because we brought it forward, right? But previously there could have been some resistance or fear. And even when we grow up in our environments and we experience something that's really heartbreaking or even traumatic with someone or a situation or circumstance, we can take these unconscious vows of like, I'm never going to do that, or I'm never going to be like that. And we carry those with us. And the idea here is that you now in this moment get to write a different story for yourself and who you are and how you be with money.
This is really good. I've never seen this before.
Mm. What's coming up for you as you see it?
like I can feel it in my entire being. There's been so many layers of healing around my mother. And I feel like this is a really deep one that I've never gotten to before. Because I really have my main mission in life, and everything that I do has been to not be like my mom. It's to not be the kind of mom that my mom was. And I know so many of us have that.
Yes.
But that has driven everything that I do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can really see how this is connected to my financial struggles.
Yeah. And what's the truth? What's the truth for you?
The truth is that I am not my mother. I do have some of her good qualities. Like, I've done enough work now that I can see that she was a powerful, she had a lot of power within her, and she was very determined. And I got some of that, very strong. I got those things, and I got to turn them into healthy things. And I got to be a completely different mom for my kids. And I broke a lot of chains and changed the trajectory for my family and my kids. And that's the truth. And and I really see that, like, the next thing for me is to change the financial trajectory of my family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm completely, like you said, capable.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Fully capable, overqualified.
Yeah.
And there's something here. Mimi, you have experienced incredible things. And you are here talking to me today, which tells me that you've survived them all. What do you think contributed to that? How did you navigate all that?
There's always just been this thing inside of me that, and I'm going to say it's God, because that's another thing that I'm working on right now, is my relationship with God. Because it's like, what else could it be? Because I couldn't do it on my own. Like, there's always just been this thing inside of me that knows I'm here to do it differently.
Yeah. Yeah. And with God, you have always figured it out.
Yeah.
Like, everything that has come knocking at your door hasn't really stood a chance when you open that door.
Yeah.
And that's really the invitation that I'm going to put on the table for you, is to consider that this money stuff is now knocking at your door because previously you were sort of in denial of who you were and who you are. And so this money thing has kind of been like bullying you in some way, right? Like, when we asked about the inner dialogue that comes up when you don't have money, that's the voice of a bully.
Yeah.
And in this moment, it's like, I invite you to open that door and be like, listen, you stand as good of a chance as everything else I've survived and overcome when it comes to money. I imagine you saying that to money. Like, look, you think you got me, but I got something for you,
Yeah.
And like that fiery, playful, like, you versus me, there's no way, There's no way. And so, when these things come up in our lives, and I love that you brought up God, because I'm such a God girl. I feel like it's easy for us as humans, from our human mind and our insecurities and our wounding, to feel like, oh, this take on like this victim narrative, or this sort of self-loathing narrative, when really I feel like God is bringing us these circumstances to remind us, remember who I created you to be. You've been running from this mystical kind of dragon you created in your brain. And I just want you to see that it's a paper dragon, and you've been letting it govern you, and you've been hiding from it. And you've been like, acting like it's bigger than you, when in your truth, Mimi, you could figure out money.
Yeah. It's so funny, because it's not even a paper thing anymore. It's like, it's
not.
just numbers on a screen that we move around.
Exactly. And I'm going to give you a little cheat code with money. The cheat code with money that was the hardest for me to learn is really, you got to go claim it. You got to really claim it. You know, if there is $100 on the table, the money asks us for the conviction to say, that's mine, in our integrity, and to be in ownership of that. That's mine. That's for me. Of course. I will take it. I will steward it according to my principles and my values.
Yeah, because I've been really working on the self-talk around it all lately, and like trying to catch myself quicker when I hear that old stuff coming in. And
Yep.
like I had a situation yesterday where I had some unexpected money show up. And, you know, I've been praying about it and I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. You know?
Yes.
And automatically my brain is like, well, be careful, you know. And then I'm like, no, like there's plenty more where that came from.
Yes.
So I'm really working to switch the conversation around it. So I love what you're saying.
Yeah. And my invitation, another invitation, is as you transition out of this call with me, that you take some time in the next week or two and you write out your principles with money. What are my principles? And I would encourage you to include at least one principle that says, I pay myself at least X amount % out of every dollar first.
Yeah.
So before anybody else touches it, whatever comes in, before anybody else touches it, this much is mine. This is Mimi's. And then we can, whatever, you know, then we can talk about bills. Then we can talk about debt. Then we can talk about business. But for every dollar, whether it's 50%, 20%, 10%, I don't care the percentage, but repattern your brain so that it's making sure that Mimi takes care of Mimi. And start to build that as a principle of like, Mimi's never left out. Mimi's never forgotten. Mimi is always cared for and considered by Mimi first.
That's so good. Yeah, I'm going to do that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. How do you feel?
Like relief.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I mean, even just in the last couple months, I've been really doing a lot of prayer, meditation, and just different, having a lot of conversations with people who I know are, you know, at the level that I'm trying to get to, and just really peeling back all these layers. And like, I feel like we got to the center today with the mom piece. And that feels like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Feels really huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a process, and we opened up something today, and I encourage you to be with you, you know, be with the truth of you. So thank you for this. Thank you for this dialogue. Is there anything else?
No, just thank you so much. This was
my pleasure.
Beyond my expectations. Beyond.
Yeah, beyond, right? As we complete this episode, I would love to know your insights, takeaways, and feedback. You can message me on Instagram at Katie Lynn Rojano, or send them via email to katie@katielynnrojano.com. Any products or digital downloads I mentioned can be found via the link in my Instagram bio. If you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to share it with at least one friend and leave a 5-star review so we can get these impactful dialogues into the lives of even more people. I would also like to thank my guest for their vulnerability and generosity in allowing us to learn from them and grow alongside them. Until next time, friends, let's go beyond.